Bill Cowher, Hall of Famer, joining us on the program. Coach, your reaction overall to the game last night?
Well, Dan, I think it was a game to me that, like you just stated, it was a defensive battle. I thought even the New England Patriots for the first three quarters there, really, they kept them in the football game. And it was a series of field position, back and forth, not making mistakes. But I think, obviously, Kenneth Walker had a couple big runs. I felt like New England maybe got away from the running game a little bit in the third quarter when the game was still there. I think a big play also was the end of the second quarter when Christian Gonzalez made a great play on Jackson Smith and Jigba and just dropped that ball near the goal line, which they could have come away with just being down 6 or 3-0 as opposed to 6-0 at the halftime. So it was it was a game again that I thought two great defenses. Probably not a great game for fans if they enjoyed offense, but it was a game that the defense of Seattle was very, very stout. And I think, again, Sam Darnold, as he's done in these playoffs, did not turn the football over, made good decisions. He was very elusive in the pocket. I think he negated a lot of sacks that New England thought they would have had. And conversely, on the other side, Drake May had a very tough time staying in that pocket.
What's it like going into halftime? Now you're down 9-0, and it's a halftime that's 3 times longer than a normal halftime. So how do you make adjustments, keep your team focused, and go back out on the field after a long delay?
It's one of those things, Dan, it's funny because I think the first Super Bowl I was in 1995, the 95 season, 96 Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys. There was the time frame from there. I did not give much thought to that and even didn't reach out to anybody. And the national anthem was much later when he came out of the locker room, and then all of a sudden you're in the locker room, you're much longer. The second time, having been there 10 years later, I made sure after halftime, number one, we took all our pads off. I said, take your pads off. We had some fruit, some oranges, some apples. Take some time, get away, get in your locker. You have to have your own space. And then let's come back together as we get back and have some final thoughts as what we want to do in the second half, particularly those first series of the second half. I always thought they're the most vital of any football game is the first series on defense and the first series on offense, because you either reestablish a momentum or you change momentum and you come out of there with a sense of, okay, we got this thing figured out. So I think that's the biggest thing you did to me was that we almost treated it like two different games. It's our first half, and then there's a second half. And that's kind of like what we did, I know, going against the Seattle Seahawks back in the 2005 season, the 2006 Super Bowl.
I was trying to figure out what they were going to do offensively, knowing that it felt like the Patriots' left side of the line could not handle Seattle. And
Right.
Seattle knew that, but I just kept thinking they would maybe subscribe to the Tom Brady playbook. Just get the ball out. Make short throws, maybe keep running the football a little bit. It just didn't feel like they were making adjustments in the second half.
Again, I go back. I mean, if you watch the New England Patriots through the course of that playoff run that they've had, number one, they've had trouble with their protection. They had 5 sacks in the 3 previous games, 6 in this game. So I think that somehow they got away from running the football, or at least throwing quick plays, screens of some nature where he didn't have to hold the ball for long periods of time. I even was going to think about, to me, at some point, is go no huddle. Try to slow down that rush. Do something to try to change the tempo of the game, because you never could get into a feel or a flow. And I think as a coach, you want to constantly try to tweak some things along the way. And those are the adjustments that you try to make, whether it be with your play calling, whether it be the sense of urgency we have coming out of the huddle, trying to do some things differently, whether it's a reverse or two, some kind of gimmick plays. We saw the flea flicker be the big play that they had last week against Detroit. We saw a little bit of that in the first series. I think Josh did a good job with that. I think they kind of got away from that because they couldn't get a first down. And so you don't get a first down, it's hard to get into flow on offense. And I think, again, I give a lot of credit to Seattle. I think Mike McDonald called a great game. He got a lot of pressure. Both teams blitzed very early in the game for both of these quarterbacks, recognizing that for both these quarterbacks, it was their first Super Bowl. Their experience was minimal. And I think they wanted to make sure they were uncomfortable. And I think they both did a great job of that. And then it got to the point where Seattle didn't even have to rush with a blitz. They were able to get there with their 4 down linemen, and Drake May just never felt comfortable the whole game.
Mike McDonald calling the defense, how difficult is that to be the head coach, but also calling the defense?
Well, I think you got to have a lot of trust in your offensive coordinator. And I think that's the one thing I think with Mike, if you look at the fact after his first year, he changed offensive coordinators. He goes against Clint Kubiak. And I think that you have to have a large degree of trust while you're doing that, because a lot of times when you're kind of the CEO, and I know as I was for my time in Pittsburgh, I'm talking to what are we doing with the other side? When one side is calling the ball, I'm talking to the other side. Let me talk to the coordinator before you start talking to the quarterback. Let's remember what we talked about last night. Let's maybe we can do this. Can we help our left tackle? Can we do some things? Whatever we need to do adjustment wise in the course of the game, you at least have an ability to talk to that coordinator to talk about what our options are at that particular time. But when you're calling the game as Mike has done, and he's done it for 2 years, again, the trust he has to have on the other side of the ball that they're getting things figured out has got to be immense. And I think they obviously with Clint Kubiak, and you just mentioned it, going to the Raiders right now, and their first pick in the draft, and we all know who that's going to be, Menendez, and I think it's that's a good choice. And again, now for Mike McDonald, it's going to be his third coordinator in 3 years as he's going up to Seattle.
Talking to Bill Cowher, Hall of Fame coach, the NFL Today analyst for CBS. Did the enormity hit you at any point coaching in the Super Bowl? And if so, when does the enormity of everybody's watching?
The enormity hits you in the pregame. I feel like the lead up to it, you try to keep things as normal as possible. Certainly the night before, the day of, as you sit there in your hotel room ready to go get on a bus. At least when you're on the West Coast, it's not as long of a day. But when you're on the East Coast and you have to sit there till like 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and it's like you're looking for a movie or looking for something. I didn't want to watch anything else, and so it does become that. Then when you get to the stadium, you can just feel the buzz. There's more people on the sideline. The finality that's going to take place, the opportunity, how close you are to making history. And it's real. And I think, again, it's real. And particularly, I know for us, when we went into the Dome in Detroit, the dome in itself was just a buzz. And so that took another level of noise that we had to kind of deal with. So I think once the game gets underway, yes, you kind of start to play the game and you fall into whatever the feel of the game is. But the lead up to it is real. It's the biggest game of your career. You never know if you're going to get back there again. As you may not think that way, but that's been the case. We've all seen the history of all the players who says, well, we'll be back. And they never got back. And the people who said, yeah, we're so close to being to the Super Bowl, and they never get there. So it's an opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to make history, and you understand that particularly as it leads up to the game and as you get to the stadium.
Did you see famous people on the sidelines when you were in the Super Bowl?
There were so many people. I stayed on the field. It's like you walk between the lines. I mean, I think, again, it's like, you walk between the lines and you sit there and you just kind of stay and try to keep things as normal. You try to keep things as routine as possible. And I think that's the biggest thing. I never got caught up with that. I tried to get the game going and make sure I look into the eyes of my players. I ain't worried about the eyes of the people who are looking at us. I want to make sure I look in the eyes of the guys that we have ready to play that game and try to just tell them to relax, have some fun. We worked too hard to get here, not to enjoy it. And trust what you see and play fast, play hard. And if you make some mistakes, let it go and just move on to the next play.
It is amazing how many teams, what they do to young quarterbacks. It just feels like more young quarterbacks are ruined than developed. And Sam Darnold was supposed to be the safe pick in that draft by the Jets, but the Jets weren't ready for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And most teams give up on these quarterbacks after 2 or 3 years. Here's Sam 8 years in, and now he wins his Super Bowl. But can you be cautious at that position? Because it doesn't feel like coaches, general managers are.
Well, I don't know if cautious is the right word. I always thought this, Dan. I think when you look at the Seattle Seahawks this year, I think they were the most balanced team in the National Football League. When you talk about special teams, Jason Myers, and they got Dickinson, who's maybe the best punter in the National Football League. We saw it play out yesterday with some of the punts he had down the ball inside the 5-yard line. Rashid Shaheed, all of a sudden, as a punt return, they pick him up at the draft. A solid defense, as we talked about, one of the best in the National Football League. And then you look on the offensive side of the ball, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, one of the best receiver, offensive player of the year. And then you have a two-headed running back with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. And don't forget about him through the course of that week. And that helps that offensive line. So Sam Darnold became just a piece of that. And I think to a large degree, that's where it was on the other side with Drake May. His legs got them there, but there was a defense, it was a running game, it was special teams. They did all the little things that it took to get there. So I think if there was ever a message that said, we don't have the quarterback, let's go get the quarterback to win a championship, I think yesterday proved that it's more about getting a complete team and building a team. And when that special guy comes along, I go back to the same thing that's what we try to do in Pittsburgh. And we won some playoff games with different quarterbacks, but when we had a special guy come along like Ben Roethlisberger, that's when championships come along. So I think that's the biggest thing is that along the way, you build that offensive line, you build that defense, you get a special guy like Devin Weatherspoon who can play multiple positions and be kind of an impact player, and you get a running game like with a Kenneth Walker, and then a special number one receiver. So you build the things around it. I said, if you build it, they will come, and they may be that quarterback that you're waiting for that can fill that void. And for Sam Darnold, he was that guy for them this year. And I think, again, for Drake May, a young quarterback, they got there. His future is very bright ahead of him.
Well, what's it like after winning the Super Bowl, that highest of highs, and then you have to go back to just normal life?
Yeah, and that's why I said to me, losing the championship game was much harder. And I lost that 4 times. I've lost a Super Bowl once, won it once. But losing those championship games was harder because, you sit there for 2 weeks and you're looking at the team that you had a chance to beat and you could have beaten them. Look at the Rams, and they could have gone there to Denver if they had their quarterback. Did they get there? Is it a different outcome? So you watch it for 2 weeks. But after this game, next weekend, everyone's watching in-state basketball. There's no more football. There's finality to what you do. And I think that's the thing to me. I know the day after we won a championship, I was in a basketball gym watching my daughter play basketball back in Pittsburgh. And so it was like, okay, now it's off season comes and there's normality. And my wife is telling me where to go and what time I needed to be there, what time's the game. And so, so it's just like, when the season was over, it's like, the projects were thrown right in front of me. Okay, I know this is where I go. I do have the combine coming up. And so okay, but until you have the combine coming up, you got at least a week of all these things we talked about doing. So let's just start to check them out off the list. You have some projects to do. And oh yeah, by the way, your daughter's playing a basketball game tonight. Gotcha. I'll be there.
Thanks for joining us all season long. We appreciate your insight, your sense of humor.
Yes, and can I ask you a question? Like, what's the story behind the bar?
This is Green Bay. We went up for the draft, and there is a place called the Bar.
Okay.
And we held we did our show up there a couple of days at the Bar in Green Bay.
So what do you have outlined for Pittsburgh? Since the draft
I don't know.
Next year?
You tell me, because we'll be there for the draft.
Okay, so can I give you some suggestions?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't do it right now. Let me looking to see what's available.
Okay.
And what kind of like do you have good company that comes with you? Or you guys, you're not a rowdy group, are you?
What do you want us to be?
Well, I think it'd be good. Like, I think you got to be able to adapt and adjust. I'm not sure what kind of bar I can get you. So are you adaptable and adjustable?
Yes, I am a 5-tool player, Coach.
Okay, good.
Whatever you need. If you want to get after it and do some drinking, is that what you're saying?
Well,
you and me?
No. It's just getting the feel for getting the feel for the vibe. The vibe. You got to be able to adapt and adjust. It's like a game, Dan. Like I don't know if it's going to be a high scoring or it's going to be low scoring. I don't know. We got to be able to adjust. You adjusted to the bar. I just want to know exactly that was what came from. So I'm just going to Pittsburgh this year. So I just want to make sure I get you the right place. And I know that you're very adaptable. So I'm not going to concern myself with that.
I'm from Cincinnati. That's just like Pittsburgh, only nicer.
Well, yeah. I love Cincinnati. Check my record again.
I was really
loves you guys. Just loved you guys.
We'll see you in April, perhaps, if you're in Pittsburgh there. Yeah, and you give us Fritzy will reach out to get some suggestions from you.
I have Fritzy reach out. I'll make sure I give you some locations that I think will fit the vibe that you will bring to that establishment.
Paulie, do you have Coach's record?
Of course we do. 22-9 versus the Bengals in his career.
Did you ever feel bad beating up on him?
No.
Okay.
Matter of fact, my last win as an NFL head coach was down in Cincinnati, and it was in overtime. It was a slant pass from Ben Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes. And we walked off. We won that game. And when they said who day, I said we day.
Man.
Okay.
All right. Man, picked on my Bengals.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I gave you Marvin Lewis. He coached for Pittsburgh for a long time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Coach. Thank
I
you.
said Dick LeBeau too. Actually, I got the Dick LeBeau from you and sent him back to you.
Yeah.
And then he came back. Yeah.
Great man. Great coach.
Good man. Really good. Very good coach. Good man.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Coach.
Talk to you soon.
That's Bill Cowher. Yeah. I felt like he was challenging me a little bit there. Like, let me see what you got. We're adaptable. We can go in, have an elegant dinner. We can go and slum it. We can go to a pub, dive bar, whatever it takes. We do it all.